Okay, chat. We are. Oh, hold on. We gotta fix this. Give me 1 second, chat. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Hi guys. Hi chat. How are you guys today? So this is our part 2 of the Christmas special mental health stream for Cupcakery for the Soul. Today is about depression and anxiety, and kind of some different aspects of that and people's stories that we're going to be talking about. So let me go ahead and introduce everybody in this stream tonight. We have some very special people joining us tonight. So, let's start off with, okay, so let me unmute everybody.
What?
All right.
Same thing.
All right.
Wholesome.
Wholesome.
Awesome.
Wholesome meme.
Oh, look at
All
Boo.
right. So, guys,
Would you boo?
so first we have G Girl Gaming. And then we have Queen Space Cake, Sidewalk Runner, and Warden Amethyst. Meta Lady will be joining us later. But so tonight we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna be talking about depression and anxiety. Um, so to start off, so without going into your stories and your details of everything that you, with the specifics that we deal with, that we're talking about tonight, just specifically say what you've dealt with without, like without going into your full story yet, because we're going to be getting into that in a little bit. But I just want to see, so specifically, like if you've dealt with depression, anxiety, social anxiety, seasonal depression, any of that, just say specifically if you've dealt with that. Sorry, so that's just that's where we're going to start right here. But anybody.
Okay.
Where do we start?
I currently, as far as I know, I have severe anxiety and I think it's severe depression. It's moderate depression. Not it bounces between. If my depression is up really high, my anxiety could be really low, or if my anxiety is really up, my depression can be lower.
Okay.
But I definitely deal with both all the time. So
Anybody else?
Yeah, I definitely deal with anxiety and depression. Like she said, very up and down.
Okay. Oh, here, photo. I'll turn her up a little bit. I guess Queen, you're low. Let me turn you up a little bit. All right. All right. Um, and then Warden or Sidewalk.
Like for me personally, I like deal with a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety. So mine's mostly like social anxiety because sometimes it's hard to really see how somebody's feeling or try to connect to what they're saying. Like for me, it's really high social anxiety and really high depression all the time.
Sidewalk.
I mean, generally, I hear a lot of, especially with the mental health that we talk about, or at least you guys talk about, not me. This is my first time here. Um, I don't seem to have it as like a constant stream, if you will, like a constant thing that I deal with in day to day life. But there have been, and actually, just part of the reason why I even threw my name in the hat. There have been events in my life that I generally am not I'm not one to talk about like, oh yeah, I'm just not feeling low. I try to be in really high spirits all the
Right.
time, but there's those
Mm-hmm.
events that really just hit in a way I've never experienced, and that just kind of brought me down to like to a different level. But
Right.
there's been episodes like that, and it's been, I'd say, at least maybe once a year. There's something that, and it just kind of brings me back into reality.
Okay. So trying to think. So like Queen, you said specifically that you have like ups and downs, and I think that's like kind of a lot
mhm.
of how we are with it. So like when you say that you have ups and downs, like how does it affect your like daily life?
So so it really depends. So when my depression is up high, I'm in a very blah mood. Just kind of don't really care about anything. Kind of just want to just go lay back in bed and just go to sleep. I'd rather be sleeping right now
Right.
because just what's the point?
Right.
That's my mood. So it's really hard to get myself out of that and actually want to do something other than just sitting around and going and laying down and then taking a nap and then waking up at like 7 o'clock at night feeling horrible because you've now just slept your whole day away
Right.
and now you can't do anything and then you just put yourself in a cycle and then you start beating yourself up about that and then now it's like I just want to go back to bed. um on days with my anxiety, I have the motivation to do stuff, but my anxiety stops me because I start panicking and freaking out, thinking that something bad is going to happen. And then I got to figure out like what's going on. Why do I feel like I need to run away from something? And like, what's going on? Like, nothing's going on. I'm not in danger or anything, but I just internally have this feeling that just something bad is about to happen. Like I'm just something. Don't know what it is, but something. So then I have to sit there and work on trying to calm myself down because then I'm just walking
Right.
around just doing stuff constantly or I'm getting mad and aggravated really easily and nobody wants to deal with that. So then you'll get caught up in something and just it yeah.
Can anybody like else relate to that? Like, do you feel the same way sometimes when you're going through it, or do you experience it in a different way, or?
Like personally for me, when like I'm having like a really, really bad day and it's like I feel like everything is like broken and then like everything feels more, I don't know, like people hate me, when you
Mm-hmm.
have that like thing where you feel like people are hating you and you think everything is against you and you feel like, oh, this is gonna be a crap day. It's just those days I just want to lay there and like throw everything aside, just lay there and sleep forever and not wake up until like Queen says later in the day, and then you get mad at yourself because you slept the whole day away,
Right.
Yep.
and then my anxiety plays off of that too. So
Well, so when I went through a little bit of like depression last year, and like that's I was either like just not I it was a really bad like time to because I mean I have a 5-year-old, so at the time I wasn't really focusing on him, and so I was just letting my depression get to me, and then he wasn't getting the focus he needed, and so it really like that was me like I had to bring my like we had to I had to be brought out of that because I was just dealing with it, and it um yeah, that's all I wanted to do is just like do nothing all day. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't clean the house. I didn't
Mhm.
do anything, and it's pretty normal. Like I've seen, so like I think I've definitely seen it before where I've seen people talk about it where they let their dishes just stack up, and you'll like, and they say, and they're like, this
You
is what
should see my
depression
kitchen.
Yeah, but you
looks
should see
like.
yeah, or laundry, laundry.
Right. But they're like,
Right.
this is what depression looks like. And it was talking about how
Yep.
it was, and it's not even like, because I have a stack of dishes in my sink right now, but like it's a whole different thing because I've seen examples where they had just their whole counter was just stacked up and they didn't do them. And,
I
or
had to
like,
wash a fork because I didn't have a clean one just to use it.
yeah, we've done that
Yeah.
before, but we were mostly just lazy that day. But that, yeah,
Am I the only one who hoards chopsticks from restaurants?
No, I have
yeah,
chopsticks. I have a whole bunch
Okay,
of them in the
just
drawer.
I should do
What?
that.
If
I
there
don't,
was a
And I don't
Chinese
know how
place
to use
near
them,
me.
man.
I should
But
just,
to add on that, I feel the same way. I feel like some days, things trigger it more than others. But when I'm really down, I'm down. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have significant others, but you have this expectation, especially if you're not working or whatever, to clean the house or have everything set. And when you're just so in your ways and you can't get
right,
anything done, it's debilitating, whether
right.
it's anxiety or depression. So
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think both come into play whenever you're I think it's noticeable. So like I was gonna say that I have anxiety more than I do depression. Like I said, I had it last year. I haven't really
yeah.
had as much depression now. I mean, I get certain days where I'm feeling really down, but it's never really like as I was last year where I just kind of just gave up some days. And but I have really bad anxiety sometimes. I don't have my license because I get anxiety about driving. Um, and then I have anxiety with like, so I actually ended up, one day I had a really, really bad like panic attack because they was like finances. Something came up with finances. We were like super negative, and I ended up just like, I don't usually have panic attacks this way. Like, usually with me, whenever like my anxiety is really hitting me, I just like go blank and I'm just thinking about every single little thing in my head at once, and it's all just like bottling up in there, and that's usually when that's my anxiety. But I had a really bad panic attack one time where it was just like I was literally hyperventilating like in the chair and just like like I was crying. And um but yeah, that's where I think they can be very crippling sometimes. Um, and it's a hard thing to deal with, honestly, sometimes. Like, and people don't realize that you're dealing with it. Um, but I wanted to share this really quick. So last year, not last year, it was okay in May. I used to do this poetry stream with my friend Tez. Um, and I made this poem up about what I went through last year. So let me just read it to you guys really quick because it really applies to this whole stream. But so let me read it really quick. So it's anxiety, crippling, finding the urge to break down. Breath is gone, tears are flowing, arms around knees, balled up on the floor, pressure to be the best, to deal with everything, but inside you're breaking down. Depression, faltering, sleepless nights, too much sleep, friends calling, messaging, are you okay? Pushing away, crying under the blankets, trying to be the perfect mother, wife, seeing the little face staring into mine, seeing my spouse hurt, wanting to help me. Something clicks inside, my soul yelling at me, get up, stop crying, get dressed, look at your little boy's face, that's what matters. Look at your husband's face, he just wants your love. You are more than this puddle of tears laying on the floor. Crawling out of bed, getting dressed, hugging my son and husband, finding friends, finding community, motivating myself. Never again will I go back there. Never again will I not fight to stay strong and push myself. It will always be there in the back of my mind, I know, but never will it control me again. I will move, I will smile, I will live. Sorry, I almost like cried again, but
Oh,
reading that. But yeah, I mean, so
I love that. I need a copy of that. Send it to me.
I know, right?
Please.
it's actually in my poetry section on my Discord, but
All right, I'm gonna have to
Aw,
copy it.
definitely check that out.
Yeah.
but so like I said, that's what I dealt with a lot last year. I still would deal with anxiety, but not as I think bad as that. But so I do want to talk about one specific topic before we start getting into the more like deep topics. So I want to talk about seasonal depression while we're here. So I think this year specifically, everybody's going through a lot with like the virus and not being able to see their families during Christmas. And so, and I think there's a little bit of difference between seasonal depression and regular depression, which is, I was talking to Warden about this earlier. Seasonal depression, it really, so I think, Saidi, what you were talking about earlier, where you don't really like get depression and you don't really get down as much, you more so deal with it when stuff happens. And I think that's the same applies to like seasonal depression, where people aren't affected by it all, these people aren't affected by it all year, but then when Christmas and holidays come around, and they're either lonely or something happens, or something in the past happened around that time, that has affected them every year around the holidays, and it's a huge thing. I've been seeing it all over Twitter about people talking about it, and I just want to know like your guys' like, I guess, advice on it to help people like not have to like, to help people deal with it during the holidays. Or like, honestly, if you're dealing with it, you could talk about that too. So Anybody can go.
Well, honestly, I think if you're really dealing with it, just keep yourself busy if you can. Maybe pick up a good book. Um, try to keep your mind off of it. I know that's hard, especially right now with COVID. That's really, really hard. But like for me, I'm not dealing with it personally because I deal with depression. But like for me personally, I try to just keep myself busy, try to do stuff that I enjoy, to try to block it out, and try to maybe maybe try something new, maybe something a little new to just um so maybe that might be something you enjoy or something like that. Just my advice is to find something you enjoy and keep yourself busy, I think would be the best thing.
Yeah, and to feed off that, I won't get into specifics, but something very tragic happened to me on Christmas Eve specifically. And every single Christmas, it's very, very hard to talk about. And so, I always urge people like seek out, like get help, talk to somebody. But like you said, like keeping busy, trying to create new memories. I know it's easier said than done, but really, really talking to people who have gone through the same thing, it really helps.
Right.
So it's never going to go away, but there it gets easier and easier as time goes on.
Right, and that's why I wanted to talk to you guys specifically. So like, especially since you guys know about these things, like, so for people that aren't used to like dealing with depression all the time, and then the holidays come around and you know stuff just they're lonely, and that's why I say specifically this year, because I know a lot of people are not being able to see their families this year, and it's really affecting people this year specifically. Um, so I agree with both what you guys said, which is, you know, stay busy. Um, I guess, and for people that are just not being able to see their families and are lonely, uh, I honestly, I know it sucks partially, like, I know it sucks not being able to see your families, but I'm really happy that they have created like stuff like, Zoom and, and FaceTime. And so I think that's like a huge thing, is like maybe even schedule like a Zoom call with your family, or like, I don't know. That's probably one of my biggest like pieces of advice, especially during this time that we have now. Um, and then, like you guys said, like if you're really feeling down this holiday, find people to talk to, and you know,
Well,
uh,
I mean, at least from my perspective, I don't know if anyone remembers from last year, but actually around this time, I think she would, she was released. I was dealing with my wife being in the hospital last year for 3 days, and um, that really hit me because nobody can figure out what was going on, and it actually reminded me of one of the biggest things that actually takes me out of that fog is running actually. And I remember I'd visit her and make sure she's okay, but one of the things she always told me to do was, hey, go run, go for 5-6 miles. And I'm I originally started running just for losing weight. I just wanted to get a bunch of pounds off of my body because I just didn't like the way I looked. But once I started getting into running longer distances, and then races, then eventually marathons, you always hear about the runner's high. Oh, you feel so great, but it's like it's not even about that. You're really just more just pushing all the negative. It just goes, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's more of just a in the moment kind of way to just kind of let it, put it aside. But at least if anything, it gives you sort of just a pause for the moment, saying, you know what, I can handle this. I can clear my head and make sure I can go into it with a much better mind frame, whatever challenge it might be. So I have a lot to thank for running. More than just the number of miles I can claim how much I've run. And exercise
That
is one of those
sorry.
tools I've heard that is good for is good for depression, especially even also like yoga, stuff like that. Exercise in general.
um,
Sorry, I got distracted by Duncan.
so
I
my
think we all
kid.
did.
It's like, hello, Duncan, how's it going?
He's still
She
here.
started a poem and you just
Yeah,
popped
it's
right
gotta
up
be
and
the
just like,
start.
I can't not laugh.
Um, so, so I did want to, okay, so now that we're kind of to talk about seasonal depression, so I want to talk about, so there's anxiety and then there's social anxiety. I want to get started with social anxiety just because it does apply somewhat to streaming. And before I started streaming, I had a lot of social anxiety. I still do. Like I've met people from streaming in real life, and I'm still like it's still really hard for me to like even people I've known for like 3 years. I have a mod named Thor, and it was still really hard to be like, hey, like, um, and so and I just get really quiet. I'm like, but so with do any of you have social anxiety specifically, and like how do you specifically deal with it, and like I guess what's your like what happens when you have it too? Like that's what I want to know.
Like I know for me, like personally, like I have really bad anxiety, like social anxiety, because it's hard for me to talk to new people. So when it comes to like streaming, I gotta remember like it's going to be okay, and it's kind of like, for example, when we would go to cons and stuff, I would start to shake, I get really nervous, and like one time I broke down and cried in the middle of a con, and it was really bad. People asked me if I was okay, and I was
Like
not okay.
Chubby.
I like, because I was in my Harley Quinn costume, just picture this, and I broke down in the middle of the floor and was like, I cannot do this. I was like, I need to go home. And Seth was like, here, let me give you my Batman helmet. And he just stuck it on me. So I was like, oh, this is nice. I can't see everybody. It's good. This is
Let's say
nice.
how many Mr. J's came to your rescue?
None, actually. My
Oh.
Batman came and rescued me. Because that was the first con we ever did together. We were recently like started dating and stuff, and I came out here to see him, and we did our con. So that was pretty neat and very different, I think. But normally when I start dealing with that, I gotta tell myself to breathe for one, two to calm down, and three to it's gonna be okay. You know, if something bad gets said, then I try to blow it off and think about it later, and then maybe talk to somebody else about it later.
1 second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're good.
But
Keep going.
oh, okay. I was like, what? um, and like normally it's good to have a friend or two that you trust with talking to, because it's nice to say, that they see you for you and they see what you're going through. Like Cuppy, you sent that thing to me in text the other day. It made my day because um you understood and you understand me. You need one person to understand you specifically,
Oh, so
or
what she's referencing is it was talking about you need a friend that's not going to try to like give you advice all the time about what you're going through. They're just there to listen and not try to like, tell you what to do and stuff. And but yeah, I sent her that the other day. But
that's what I'm referencing. It was really nice because Cuppy and a couple other people that I'm friends with, and hopefully I can make new friends, will understand me or themselves. It's kind of nice to have that person that understands you, and or any people or group or whichever. But it's nice to have that. It's nice to have that support. So I think more or less you need support when it comes to social anxiety, so they can understand what you're going through and what happens when you go through it. If that makes more sense too.
right.
Mhm.
It's funny that you said something about like the cons and stuff, and like how you were cosplaying and stuff. I've actually heard that from a lot of like cosplayers because a lot of people that cosplay, um, are just like us. They're sitting at their computer all day. They don't really interact with a lot of people, and so I've heard a lot of stories about people that cosplay. They cosplay because like they want to go to cons, but they cosplay a lot because they're not really themselves and they have a lot of like social anxiety. And so they go to cons and they dress up and they don't feel like they're like having to show their full selves, and so it helps them deal with social anxiety. So, and it's funny because you said you put the Batman helmet and you felt like it was just you're fine. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like my royal guard. You've
right,
seen big red giant crayon looking thing, right? It's like that helmet. You can't. Okay, for one, it's claustrophobic in there, and there's a fan, and it sucks. But anyway, you put a costume on, and you're not yourself. You're someone else. You're cosplaying as someone else, or Harley
right,
Quinn, or whoever.
right. So, do any of you deal with social anxiety, or is it mostly just like normal anxiety and depression, or do you like you guys have a hard time like talking to people, or does
Do
anybody
family
else?
members do family members
Family
count?
man.
I don't know if that's social anxiety. I think that's just like
It's arguable.
Family anxiety.
that's just family.
I mean, I just have really bad anxiety, so I mean, I guess you could probably say I have social anxiety. Because I mean, my anxiety is just always going.
right, right.
Always going. Always.
So yeah, just
Always.
I mean, I can completely agree with Warden because I have a very hard time talking to new people. When I found this new coffee shop here, I went in myself and I was buying my coffee. Then my fiance started buying my coffee for me every morning. And on the weekend, I would ride with him so he could get me the coffee. And I just, for some reason, my anxiety started flaring because I started hearing about new people working there that, no, I'm not going in there. You can just, you can do it. I don't want to meet anybody new. I'm fine.
I feel
I'm
you.
good. Even though I started it there in the beginning, and more than likely, once I get my driver's license soon, I will kick myself in the butt eventually and have to kick my anxiety out the window because it's like I want coffee and I can get it
Hell
myself
yeah.
now. So what's it gonna be? But
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats.
I live in a
Uber
small
Eats.
town. I don't have Uber Eats. I wish. Oh, I
Oh,
wish.
it's a big fan. Oh, girl, you're missing out.
Oh, I
Mhm.
am. But like even with streams, there was a moment on Mixer when I took a very long break from streaming. And people that I used to talk to in communities and everything, I still follow them or whatever, but I don't go in there because my anxiety goes up thinking that they're upset with me because I just randomly disappeared out of nowhere. And I know that it's not like they did anything. It's not like there was any drama or anything, but you never know with people. You never know if they're going to take it personal or if they're going to really understand that look, like you didn't do anything. I just ghosted myself from everybody, not just you, just everybody. So, and then just meeting new people the same, like you don't want to say anything stupid or what can you say to this person because you don't want to offend them or just there's just so much into it. So,
I've lost some friends like that actually, and they were pretty close to me throughout my childhood. And it's just like, just eventually I would ghost them. Just like, you know what, this is better than dealing with being around you, and that just killed it.
Yep.
And
yeah, it doesn't feel good to know that like you're always having to walk on eggshells around somebody.
yeah.
You don't know when it's gonna like just take them off and or
Yep.
whatever. You might as well just cut it. Just go. I
Right.
can't. Mm-mm.
So like it's funny, honestly, it's funny to me that I'm a streamer because like and honestly it's funny to me that I'm doing something like this with other people because like I don't necessarily I forgot to turn off Thor's command. That was loud.
Whoops.
Um so but what I was saying is so okay, that distracted me completely.
Damn it, Thor.
So um
Damn it, Thor.
um so I don't have like I think for me with streaming it actually helped my social anxiety a lot and because I'm a horrible like public speaker. I like if I'm on a stage, I am like shaking the whole time I'm like talking to like, and so for me like it helped a lot with like my social anxiety because I don't know like honestly why. I don't know if it's just because I'm not actually like with people. Uh, but I still have trouble sometimes. So like, I'll get in a party with people that I don't know. Like, no, there's been several times. So like, Warden, I've gotten to a party with like your friends, and I'm like, I don't know these people. Who are they? And like,
Yeah.
and so I'm just like, okay, hi, like, and so it takes me a second to be like, like talk to them, and sometimes I just sit there quiet because I don't know what to do. Like I'm just sitting there completely quiet. Um, but um, but it's funny to me that I do stuff like this because like I don't know. I guess it's because it's for a good reason that I'm doing it, so it's harder for me to like. Because sometimes if it was for a different reason, I'd be sitting there like, okay, like talk to them and like, so but we were talking about like certain people that make your anxiety kind of flare and you just don't want to be around them. Um, that used to be like my mother-in-law hugely. Like we used to, used to make me so like, just like so anxious all the time. There was one time when I actually hid in the room and wouldn't come out and talk to her because she was there, and I was like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, and so, but it's gotten a lot better because she's lived with us for a while now, so I'm a lot better with it. But so with anxiety specifically, like moving past social anxiety, so I guess for me, like, tell me how. Is there something that's specific that really started it, or was it just something that you kind of were affected by, like, um, nothing that like started it, or like I don't like. Is there something that kind of specific that like made like triggered you to have like anxiety, and you just had anxiety after that, or was it just there? Um, I don't know. I don't know how to describe what I'm asking, but like,
For me, I think my first time I ever had my real first like panic attack was maybe junior high. I was like in the 11th grade. No, I was a junior, 10th grade. And I was just in the middle of class and I don't know why, but all of a sudden my skin started crawling and I just felt like standing up and screaming and flipping tables. Like, I can't do this. I gotta get out of here. Ha! And just like run away. Cause I don't know, just something in me just took over and I ended up calling my mom and for there it would randomly happen. And then I guess just throughout my life and having so many losses and not a whole lot of wins, more losses than
right,
wins, my anxiety has just gone through the roof. And then moving from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, miles away from my family, not having anybody,
right.
only my significant other, my anxiety's gone up even more. So it's just it's always been there, I guess you
Okay.
could. Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
might.
guess for me, I've had something happen in college. It kind of like, was always anxious making, but I'm a little bit of a different case. I ended up getting like really, really bad Lyme disease, and my first symptom of it was panic attacks. And my very first symptom, I collapsed to the ground, and my heart rate was almost at 200. So ever since that one day, it's been brutal, man. It's just been mine's more physiological, but that kind of turns into psychological, if that makes sense. So it's always there, man. It's all the time.
So do you think that maybe like do you think your anxiety is mostly triggered by the Lyme disease, or is it you think it's like something that just
Yeah.
happens to like on the side, or
Well, it's both. I mean, I was in the medical field, so physiological, there's definitely reasons for it.
right,
But when you go through so many things in your life, I've been hospitalized probably close to 10 times. I've been told I was close to death. I've had so many procedures, so many things happen to me that the anxiety builds almost every single day, you know? Like, am I gonna die? Is something gonna happen? You know, 8 months ago, I was hospitalized with the coronavirus, you know? So it's just something that I just have to deal with every single day. Just more anxiety, like what's gonna happen, I guess. So
Right. Um, Anybody else? Like where did like if you have anxiety, where did it start? Or like
I think mine started when my dad married my stepmom because my stepmom hated me. So that turned out is because like, like self-doubt, am I good enough? Is what I'm doing or where I'm going, is it going to be good enough to, I don't know, like please her, I guess. That's where it started. And then throughout my life, I self-doubt all the time, like, am I going the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? It's just kind of like it's this big ugly ass ball of green gross like self-doubt, I guess. You think about it. And then, I kind of agree with what Queen's Base Cake said about moving. Like, it was pretty hard because I moved from the East Coast as well to here, not even close to 5 years ago. Everything is just, it's just like, where is it going? Like, what's going on? You kind of just felt like maybe you're not good enough or whatever. And that's kind of where my anxiety comes from because I'm afraid that, people are not going to see me for me and may not like it or whatever. And it's kind of like also when I came out this year, how people would perceive me because it's just like, because like my dad didn't take it well. My husband said it was fine, but I just felt like just everything, just piled into one. Just, it was awful.
I understand.
um so hold on. Sorry, I was like I was just listening to you and I know like what you've dealt with recently, Ward, and what you've told me and some things that have occurred recently. Um um so I can definitely say for myself, so I honestly didn't have I had like social I would say I had more social anxiety growing up and like a lot of shyness and I didn't have a lot of friends in elementary school, middle school, or high school. Um, Something happened when I was in high school where um, I actually was like we were in so I'm gonna talk about this because it was kind of I think it triggered a lot of like my social anxiety. When I was in high school, I was in sophomore year. I was in gym class and you know for gym class they had us all changing in the locker rooms and I think so. Let me just say, bowling was a huge social anxiety thing for me because like I got picked on a few times like when I was younger in school and stuff. But when I was a sophomore, we were changing in the the girls' locker room, and come to find out later, um, some girls had went to my gym teacher saying that I was staring at them while they were changing, and that they were uncomfortable with me being in their gym class, and which I'm like straight as like a board. Like I no, like I'm not into girls at all, like whatsoever. And so it was something that like I was like, okay, but like I'm not no, like I wasn't looking at them. I don't and so and it was a really like hard time for me because like they made me change in the bathroom by myself. And and like I didn't even do anything. She even like the teacher talked to me about it too, and I was like, and she's like, well, I know you probably didn't do it, but to make them feel comfortable, I was like, yeah, but like, what about me? Like, I didn't do anything, so like, um, but I mean, and so that was a lot more like social anxiety that I dealt with, and um, but then like I think what really triggered the more so like anxiety because like I said, I didn't really have a lot of like like just normal anxiety with like situations and stuff. It was mostly just social anxiety that I had. It was really what triggered like the anxiety more so is like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago we got in a car accident. We were here. We had been living in Virginia at the time, but we were visiting my parents here in Ohio. the snow was really coming down, and we were on our way to somewhere, and this lady crashed into us, and um, it really like that's partly the reason I don't have a driver's license is because that was like something that really like brought out my anxiety. Because like I was scared to like the reason I don't have a license is because I'm scared to hurt my son. I'm scared to hurt like somebody else. I'm scared to because like like and it's the unsureness of how like everything will go if you're driving and so then I have anxiety with like stuff happens and I like constantly if I've made a mistake it's a constant thought in my head, no matter if I'm forgiven, no matter if it's talked about, if it's and it's past, it still like pops in my head every once in a while, and I'm sitting there just like, oh my god, like, and just thinking about it constantly. And so I get in these moments where I'm just like just sitting there super quiet. I've had it on stream before where I've actually gotten a message from somebody where they're like, are you okay? They asked me in chat and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But I was having a really crappy day and they messaged me privately and they're like, I could tell you're lying. I know you're not okay. The only reason I could tell you're lying is because I'm a mod for you. And so, like, I know that you're not, like, completely okay because you're not being your, like, happy, bubbly self like you normally are. And, so, and it's a little spurts of, like, anxiety where it's not even, like I said, I don't have, like, a lot of panic attacks. I had that one. But otherwise, I have, like, if anything, I get these moments where I just stare up into space because I'm thinking about something. Literally, if I start thinking about one thing, it's just everything else comes into. So, I don't. Sorry, I can't remember what I was gonna say. But I think I deal with it a lot better now. Like I said, I had that panic attack a couple months back, and I've dealt with it a lot better now. And I think streaming kind of affects it sometimes where, if you're not streaming when you're supposed to be, you get this like little bit of panic inside where you're like, oh my God, like they're going to hate me for not streaming. And most of the time everybody's like, no, like take your day off. Like, I'll post in general chat, like Saidi, you've commented on it before. I'm like, guys, I'm not feeling well today. I kind of want to take a day off. And most of the time, like everybody's just like, it's fine. Like you can take a day off, but inside I'm like, are they really meaning that? Like don't are they gonna hate me for not being there? And so I think that's where my anxiety comes into play, where I'm just like you said earlier, Warden, like the fear of like disappointing people. That's a huge thing. Like just the fear of like disappointing people and not being good enough. And I think that also plays into depression a lot, which I think we're gonna get into that now. So like not feeling good enough about yourself, and the constant worry about like disappointing people, that comes into play with depression a lot too, where and that's why I think a lot of people get depression from that a lot, just because if they're super worried about like disappointing people, they can make a huge mistake, and then once they make that huge mistake, then they feel like I've talked to people before where they felt like they were completely worthless because they made a mistake, and so then the depression was like, you're worthless, and and it's a tough thing. It's really tough thing for people to deal with. It's just because you just constantly feel like you're not like good enough. So like, and like I said, I want to talk about this. So like, getting into the depression conversation. If you guys have depression, Queen. If you guys have depression, so Saidi, I'm gonna start with you because you said yours is more related to like stuff that occurs. So with yours, so like, what specifically like I guess, what specifically, how does it make you feel? Like, um, just not like, because I mean, for you specifically, you don't deal with it all the time, and you only get it when something happens. And I know you specifically told me something's like going on right now. How does, like, honestly, how does that make you feel?
I mean, I think ultimately you just kind of feel like the rest of the world's got eyes on you, and no matter what you do, and no matter what I do, more specifically, it doesn't matter if I, you know, run, it doesn't matter if I do something amazing or if I, make someone else happy. It's like, well, everyone's still looking at you, and it ain't good enough. Keep trying. And it's And I mean, at least with what I try to deal with, that's part of the reason why I bring back to running all the time. It's like it does make it doesn't make me feel any better about whatever situation it is. And even now, what I'm dealing with the wife, being a teacher, having to go back to school, it's like she it just I fear for her and all that, and I'm always thinking like, what, no matter what you do, but um, no, ultimately, it just I have to keep reminding myself that it's not. It could. Trying to think of a good word for it. You guys really don't have a good word for it. I guess ultimately, I guess that's the way I described it. Just all eyes are on me, and I just don't know how. I just don't know. I just don't think that no matter what I did, it's gonna make it any better.
Right.
And I guess only until I get out of that funk is when it'll start being better.
Right. So I was gonna ask you. So, like, you posted specifically in the mental health stream section on Discord, and this is what you said you kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Was you said your mother passed away, and I just want to, like, talk to you about that. Like, do you
My
want to talk about that,
condolences, Sidewalk.
or
No, I'm cool with it. Because actually, it did kind of tie back into it kind of ties into building up, creating Sidewalk Runner essentially. I don't know how deep. I don't know how deep I need to go, but I mean,
go ahead,
okay.
whatever you're comfortable
Well,
with.
no. Well, it's like how, like now all eyes on me. Do I think? How much detail I go? But I guess I can give just the idea of, like, a low point. Actually, kind of like I said before. That for me, you guys always talk about it's a constant thing you have to handle. For me, it's more events, just
Right.
little pockets in time for me that just like, this big thing happened and this is, now I feel this way. And then only over time does it end up being healed. And I think the biggest hit ultimately came with my mother, which, she was never didn't seem depressed or anything like that. And we generally were a happy, fairly close family. And I remember the day I'll never forget the day it'll happen. Um, So the last thing I remember we speaking was I was playing actually Assassin's Creed on the Xbox 360, and just sitting there playing, And normally it's like, I'm playing games, this is my time. Remember her coming in, like, hey, how you doing? Okay, I'm like, Mom, I love you, but I'm in the middle of this right now. Going, like, love you, but it's, I'm trying to focus. And I guess it reminds me of that scene in Forrest Gump with Bubba and Forrest. It's like if I knew that this was the last time, I would have had something different to say. And long story short, a few hours later, not to go into details, but I ended up finding her, and I really wish I didn't. But over time, family and friends came, and I just felt, you know, for the longest time, like, what if I had said something different? What if I had done something different? What if I, you know, could I have done better as a son? Could I have done anything? Really? And we have someone new coming in.
Hi, Meta.
Dipping into
So, Sadie, to kind of, like, I guess, talk about, like, a loss that really, like, affected me, and it kind of put me into, like, a little bit of depression. Because at the point when this happened, I hadn't, like, dealt with depression a lot. Um, and so, like, I had depression last year, but like 5 years ago. So we were in the military. We were stationed in Texas, and my I hadn't seen my grandma in like 2 years. And I found out she had cancer. Um, and I wasn't able to visit her because, like, I mean, we didn't have money at the time. I was pregnant. Um, and and I had a chance to see her, and she passed away um, from cancer. And I think with like what you said, sidewalk. My grandma and I didn't really like. She was a very she had a different like personality. She had a lot of OCD, and so she was always criticizing people in the family, and so when she passed away, I was so like before she passed away, um, even like before like she got cancer, I didn't really talk to her. So before that though, like the last time I talked to her, I don't think it was like probably the most like loving thing, like the way like the last time I saw her, the way like probably I regret it now. I more so regretted it when she passed away though. When she passed away, um, it was probably the hardest. Like I went through a little bit of depression where I was just very upset because the last time I saw her, it wasn't probably the best thing, and I didn't even, and I was very upset because I didn't get to say goodbye to her, and um, sorry, she was, it was, she had a lot of things that like at her funeral I ended up like talking about, and it ended up like, oh, it made me ended up bawling because it was a lot of just like pent up emotions because I genuinely just I loved my grandma so much, and so but I went through like a little bit of depression with that because it was just it ate me alive that I hadn't seen her in like 2 years before she passed, and it was something that like really affected me for a while there. It still affects me a little bit. I've talked to my mom about it, but like it's still something that like man, I didn't get to see her, and it's and it like it eats you up sometimes like thinking about stuff like that, like you said, sidewalk. You feel like crap whenever they pass because the last time you talked to them it probably wasn't how you would have loved to end it. um but anyways,
Hmm.
so um moving on to with anybody else, where I guess where obviously you don't have to say specific, like you don't have to say everything that you dealt with obviously, but where did your depression start? And like I said, you don't have to give all the details um of everything like that you've dealt with and stuff, but I wanted to know like crap, I forgot to turn sidewalk sound off too. I'm sorry. Um anyways,
I'll just avoid chat like I intended. Okay.
um anyways, so with your depression, where did it start, and how I guess how does it affect your daily life too? So um anybody can go.
So, pretty much growing up, I realize it more now. But my own mother suffered from depression very, very bad. Um, growing up, she used to lock herself in a room, and I'm like, oh, I'll never be like that. I don't have depression. Um, and unfortunately, it like ruined our relationship, and just didn't understand it at the time. So I think it started then. But for me, I can only speak in my early 20s, like I said, getting sick and having to drop out of college and go back into college and quitting jobs at 26, 27 years old. It absolutely killed me. And going based off what you were saying, not feeling good enough. whether it was in-laws or friends, always feeling like, I didn't have a purpose in life. And I still struggle with that every day. Um, which Twitch has actually helped, thank God, meeting all you guys, honestly. Um, but pretty much, you watch everyone get married and have kids and get career advancements, and you're just sitting in bed struggling. And I can't say everyone's been through it, but it definitely has, impacted me in such a negative way. But yeah.
Kind of going back to my my incident. I kind of, now that I kind of think about it, I kind of do have something that I deal with constantly, and what I mean by that is when the whole thing went down. I'll keep it brief because I know you guys want to talk. Um, when it all happened, and then I walked outside, to meet the ambulance and the officers, all that good stuff. My neighbors were around, and they were just baffled what the hell is going on. I don't get what's going down. And when I try to tell them, it's like, my mother is. I'm like, what? Wait, she's sick? She okay? Like, no, my mother is, and then they just clicked, and they all went, oh my god. To this day, I still cannot say the D word. I cannot say my mother is. I can't do it.
Right.
It just stuck with me, and it just kind of reminds me back to that time. But it's like, you know, no, it's pretty much. So something I deal with, constantly. That is, it's like I said, I usually deal with it in like little events here and there, but that is one thing that's always stuck with me, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get over it, but
Anybody else want to talk about
And I
your?
guess feeding off, not seeing grandparents and stuff, just a real thing. I think depression really caused me not to see some of my family at times. And my way for making up for it was I actually saw two very close family members die. And I felt like that was my way of like not being there. And that just made everything worse, seeing somebody take their last breath, two close family members. So I think depression has also made me, miss a lot of family events or not seeing grandparents or uncles or things like that. So
I definitely feel that. Morden, Queen, or Meta, you guys want to talk about what you guys went through
I'm
with your
sorry, I'm
depression?
nervous. I'm
You're
kind
good.
of
You're
like my
good.
heart rate palpitating.
That's exactly how I am. Like, this is the first um, setting, and also I don't know where to look, here or here. This is the first time I've ever dealt with FaceTime.
You're
So I
fine.
don't know
Just
where
look
to
at your
look.
camera. You're good.
Honestly, I'm trying not to make weird faces because like my nose itches. I'm like,
Just
Oh,
scratch
I'm
me,
and
girl.
I
Just
apologize for my
scratch me.
weird faces.
You're
Just
fine.
scratch me. This is the first time I would say, and I don't have anyone's stream open, and I actually decided just to host and not stream because I didn't want that background like distraction.
Right.
So I just changed my mind on it and just decided to host, and then I'd share it later. But so I don't know how many people are watching or anything like that, but this is the first time publicly outside of family that I have talked about my situation and my depression and my anxiety. Um, my daughter, Abigail, passed away 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Um, she suffered from severe special needs and health problems. And it came down to, in a nutshell, because this is Cupcake knows, this is a very long story. Came down to the decision of having to make the choice to put your child in hospice. We did hospice at home at 6 years old. We brought our daughter home from the hospital, put her in hospice, and then also had to sign a DNR. And I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but that is a do not resuscitate. And even though in my brain, I know, and I spoke to many doctors in many different states, many different specialties, there was nothing we could do for Abby anymore. And so DNR and hospice was the most loving and caring thing. I know that, like, from a medical standpoint, that was the smartest thing. It was the kindest thing. It was the best thing that I could choose. But I struggle 2.5 years later going, I signed a DNR. I know up here, like, you know, there was nothing that they could do for her any longer. Infection had set in. She had too many lines. This is all backstory um, that is very long to go into. There was nothing we could do for her. She did not eat. She had was completely TPN and lipid dependent. Basically, that means she's getting all of her nutrition through an IV line. Basically, in a nutshell, and a lot of people, I don't think they grasp that there is a point when you have had so many lines and IVs in your body that you literally cannot get any more because of scar tissue and um, things called tunneling. Your veins collapse. They literally can't get another vein in you. For someone like my child who literally lived on TPN and lipids, once there were no more access points, we all know you can't live without nutrition. She had gotten a really bad infection, um, something that was extremely rare. And it was like, choose the two things that are the worst. Had we left it in, the infection would have begun to shut down all of her organs and caused her a lot of pain, and or bring her home, relax her, give her things that comfort her, and have her home with the people who loved her. But I suffer every day with knowing I signed a DNR. And I suffer every day with selfish grief, even 2.5 years later. We could have just pushed through. This is somebody who deals with depression and anxiety that I guess I struggle with. Just, I know we couldn't have kept her here, but I just selfish grief. That is self-explanatory. I want her here so badly for myself. I know it's not the best thing, but I literally, like you said, G girl, I literally watched her. I saw the last breath that came out of my 6-year-old's body, and I live with that every day of my life. And that is what I struggle with, is knowing that I could not do anything, and I can't do anything about it now. But that is something that truly feeds into my anxiety and my depression. I um, have more good days now than I do bad days. But there are days where I don't want to get out of bed. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter with my husband, and there are days where it's a struggle to get out of bed. It's a struggle to make a sandwich. It's literally a struggle to do anything, to shower, to eat. And that's hard. And that's something that I deal with. And that is directly from the loss of my child. I think I've always dealt with depression from even an early age. I suffered from, you know, typical things that many females deal with, which is, self doubt and self worth and finding your place, when you're a young female, it's something hard that you have to work through. And I think it started then. And then I think just fast forward everything that happened, you know, with my daughter throughout her 6 years of life of constantly being in the hospital and being sick to her passing has just completely contributed to depression and anxiety. And I think the best thing, and you know, I don't know y'all's stance on being spiritual or being religious. For me, I think what helps me out in my beliefs is that I know Abby was too good for here. She was borrowed. And if you are spiritual, you kind of understand what I mean by that. And she is home where she needs to be. She was on borrowed time here. She improved my life. She saved me from, you know, she saved me from a completely different path, and I wouldn't be the person I am without her. So I think just that spiritual belief that I have, I know that she is in a better place, which I believe is why I am still on this earth today. Um, and then my husband and my 2-year-old Margaret. If it was not for them, I don't believe I would be here. So that's been my biggest thing
I was gonna say,
with
by
my
the way,
depression.
I was gonna say before I was gonna say this before you started, but because I know you told me a lot,
I've got
and
all kinds of things.
and I was gonna tell you, I was gonna say you don't have to share everything you told me. That's why I was, because you told me
Yeah.
a lot, and I didn't know if you'd even be comfortable sharing some of the things you told me. But
Well, and
yeah.
and two, I don't know the age group of your audience, so I didn't
Oh,
want to
well,
go into a lot of things, some
it's
of
all
the real
mature stuff,
serious things.
but
Yeah. So I just, you know, just
right.
kind of a little tidbit about
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Um, Warden or Queen Space Cake?
Um, I guess I'll talk about mine. I mean, I've talked about it before on my own stream. I can. This is what I'm telling myself right now. I can do it again. All
You
right.
can do it. You can do it.
Oh,
We
if only
got
you
you.
guys could like feel my heartbeat right
I'm giving you
now.
like a virtual hug. It's fine. It's good.
Um, I get like everybody. I think it's kind of was like always there depression for me because my mom is bipolar. She has severe depression. So I grew up knowing this about my mom and constantly on the weekends it's 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've heard it from my mom's own mouth that she's laid out the pills in a line in order, the way that she would need to take them. And I would sit there on weekends and the afternoon would roll around and I would just sit there and think in my head, am I going to have to walk in there and find you? Thank God I never have. But I've never been a big fan of people talking about suicide or anything because I grew up with it with my mom. And I just don't just I immediately just want to shut down. Ooh. But so I guess it kind of probably was always there because of my mom. But when I turned 18, I met my ex-husband. Only knew him for 3 months, was young and naive, got married. My wedding night, I got pregnant with my daughter. Best thing in my life because that's all I ever wanted in my life was a kid. 3 months go by and he put his hands on me. And I also grew up seeing my dad do that to my mom, and I always told myself, like, yeah, no, like, not gonna deal with this. The second that you do anything to me, you're getting out of my house, like all this, bye. So I immediately left him. And I agreed to go to marriage counseling because I I grew up with both of my parents. I didn't want my kid to go through that. So that's really where my depression started. was my daughter's coming into something that she didn't ask for. She didn't ask to be born and be in my stomach and all this. I'm bringing you into this. And this is not what I wanted you to come into because you don't deserve any of this. So ultimately, I started getting depressed essentially for my daughter. I actually feel like I shoved every ounce of happiness that I had into my daughter to make sure that she was happy. She would never feel any kind of sadness. She wouldn't feel anything that me and her father are going through and just all this. But it didn't work out. My ex-husband was just a huge jerk. It was wish-washy. One moment she was his kid, the next moment she wasn't. I found out one day that I was super nervous about this for like maybe a month, 2 months, because he wouldn't answer me. They saw a bubble in one of my ultrasounds and they wanted to redo it to see if it was a defect on her heart or not. So for 2 months, I was trying to get him to tell me if my TRICARE for the military, if I still had it or not, so I can go and get this checked out. I freaked out for 2 months thinking that my daughter had a defect because my ex-husband just didn't care enough about us. And then I found out that he left me all the way in North Carolina and went back to Arkansas 2 months before our daughter was born. Then when my daughter was born, just got told that she had really bad jaundice and that I was probably going to have to go home without her. And then I get a call in the hospital. It's my ex-husband telling me to send him pictures of her, or he was going to come down here and do whatever he can to take her from me. You called me on a hospital phone. 2, you changed your number. Why are you threatening me like this? So I had no idea what to do. I just found out this about my daughter. Now my ex-husband's calling me and threatening me. Okay. Years go by. I'm working on myself. I found an amazing quote that helped me start pulling myself out of my depression. I think my daughter was a part of that. My daughter started pulling me out because I could just look at her and be like, this is all for you. Like, I'm doing this for you at the end of the day. But it came to a point where my parents separated and I needed to make money quick. And it took me months to do it, but I ended up being an escort for maybe a year and a half. Am I proud of it? No. Do I regret it? Not really. Because I mean, I ended up getting my own apartment. I was putting myself through school. My daughter was in daycare. I had everything that she needed or wanted and more. So, no, I don't regret it at all. But I ended up getting caught. So I had to stop. And I got a misdemeanor. I got a warning, essentially. So I had to move out of my apartment and I moved in with a girl that I thought was family. And it was me, my daughter, her uncle, his 2 kids, another girl and her daughter, and another guy, all in one house. I'm sleeping in a living room with a 1.5, almost 2-year-old. I need to get out of here. I just had my grandmother's death in the family. My family really couldn't help me. So I looked at her grandparents, my ex-husband's side of the family. Hey, can my daughter come and stay with you guys for a little as a visit for at tops 3 months so I can get the ball rolling and get myself in a better position, get a job and all this. They did not know what I was doing. They did not know I was an escort. To me, they didn't need to know that you guys weren't immediate family. My parents and my family, the people that I had in my life, knew what I was doing. So I sent her there, and I think about it now. When she left, I had this feeling that I needed to tell them to turn around and give her back to me, that it was the worst mistake that I ever made. But months go by and I get with my current fiance, and I've known this boy's at that time for maybe 8 years. I met him when I was in the 10th grade and he was a junior. And so we lived in the same neighborhood and everything. It was always an on and off thing. And I finally caught him. And we were sitting there talking, and he wanted to help me. So he let me move in with him. And then I called them up and I was like, all right, I'm ready to bring her home. I'm in a heck of a lot better situation. We just switched the apartment to a 2-bedroom so she would have her own bedroom. And then a week later, I get called telling me that they took out an emergency custody order. Because apparently the girl that I thought was family called them and told them that I was escorting, told my business. So instead of like my family immediately coming to me and talking to me, asking me, because I mean, my parents did it. They immediately, where's Jordan whenever you're doing all this? Like, is she okay? It's like, look, she's either in daycare or she's staying the night with you. She is never with me whenever I'm doing it. So do not worry about that. Like, I promise you she's safe. And they didn't do that. They just immediately jumped to it and ran to a lawyer and all this. And I remember reading it saying that I abandoned her, that I didn't want her anymore. So they needed to come and get her. And that she didn't have anything with her. The only thing that she had was the clothes on her back. I sent you with her car seat, all her clothes, all her toys, everything. And you're going to tell me, okay, one, I had text messages proving all this, but I was living in North Carolina at the time, and this was all going on in Arkansas. It was a jungle just for me to find a lawyer. And the one that I did get was just to get because I was about to be thrown out of the court case. And the only reason why there was a court case was because thank God, I showed up at midnight when that emergency order ended. And I had to wait until that Monday in Arkansas to talk to a judge. And the judge told me that the only reason he was about to sign over all rights to the grandparents. But because I was there in front of his face, it was different. And that's what started everything. And they kept trying to burying me under paperwork and everything because I was having a hard time finding a lawyer. And the whole court thing, just at the end of the day, I don't feel like it was ever fair. I constantly heard the judge telling me that he knew that my daughter was in a better place, that she was flourishing whenever she was there. My daughter had just turned 3. Of course she's going to flourish. So when any 3-year-old child flourishes, they're 3. They're growing up. It's not the area that she's in. She could have done that with me. But I didn't find out until maybe 6-8 hours before the final court date. But thank God my in-laws, the people that started it, thank God they told me about it the day before. My grandfather is the one who gave me the money to be able to get that rental in the hotel and everything to go down there. And it was supposed to be a 2-long process. It ended up being 1 day. I proved on stand that my ex-husband abused me and that he abandoned me and just all these reasons for him not to have her. He was out of her life for 2 years. Why now? And his own mother even said on the stand that he didn't deserve her. The only people that were backing him up was his fiance at the time. Well, his wife now, but it was her family that was backing him up. They kept trying to say, oh, he's a great guy and he's an amazing guy. You know him now. You didn't see him then when he was angry and abusive and everything. So, and I remember this so perfectly because it broke my heart. I was told that they were supposed to do the verdict separate. And it was supposed to be a 2-long day process, but the judge looked at me and told me that because I didn't have a stable home, I didn't have a stable income, I didn't have a job, and I didn't have family support, and because of my past, he couldn't grant me custody of her. And then turns and looks at my ex-husband and goes, but I can't judge you on your past. Everybody here has said how much of an amazing person you are and how hardworking and just all this. It's not your real family, dude. His own family's not saying this about him. And little did the judge know, and he wouldn't care enough to know, but I was there because of my family. So I had family support. I had an income because my fiance had a job. So it's not like we weren't paying bills or anything. I had a home. Just I myself did not have a job. That was about it. But I was looking for one. And just I broke down, and just still to this day, I struggle with it because I regret making the decision that I made of sending her away. I should have been able to be strong enough to do it with her still here with me, instead of being selfish, thinking that I could do it faster if I just sent her somewhere real quick so I could hurry up and not have to worry about her. So that's when my depression has hit the hardest, and it's still the lowest. Is I made so many bad decisions in my past when I thought I was making right ones, and they've hurt me completely. And now I don't know what to do anymore because it doesn't seem like I can ever do anything right. So,
Can I say something to you?
sure.
Know this. Your bad decisions or decisions you make in your weak moments do not define you. What defines you is how you choose to change and better yourself. Do not let that weakness or those little weak moments define you, because they don't. There's more to you than that. Everybody makes mistakes. All right?
I also wanted
Don't
to
be hard on yourself.
I also wanted to say something, Queen. You say that it was selfish for you to send her away, and you constantly think that and you regret it. But from the way you told me, from the way you told us, it doesn't seem to me like it was a selfish decision at all. You were sending her away to make yourself better, and so she could be in a safe place while you did that. And I know it's hard for like this is a hard thing to like think about, but the sooner you let that go, the sooner it will the more it'll eat you alive. This like it'll keep eating you alive. The sooner you let it go, the more you will feel a little bit better about the situation. I know you still don't get to see her as much, but um, you know, you felt what was right. That you felt it was right at the time, and you made yourself better. And the fact that they didn't see that, and the fact that they didn't see that you were taking care of her when you took her there, is it's honestly a crappy situation. So don't ever doubt that you did something wrong by sending her away. So
And can I also say something to you, Queen? Sweetheart, you are amazing and so sweet, and I'm so glad that I met you through Cuppy. And like the story broke my heart because I mean I told you and Cuppy kind of a similar situation with me, which I'll explain later. I think you're a strong person, and that you had to send her away so you can make, like Cuppy said, make yourself better, and try to have a stable home. Try to make sure her situation when she got to you, whenever that may have been, was better. You were doing what you thought was right. So don't ever doubt yourself that that decision was bad. You were doing what you thought was right at the time. Honey, it's okay. Like, I'm so sorry. Meta is right. You know, um, she's right what she just told you too. We all make mistakes. We all think maybe that dumb decision, like, foresight, saying that, I shouldn't have maybe done that. But you know what? At the time, we thought it was the right thing to do. So, honey, just stay strong. It's okay. Let go. Let go. You have to do it because it's going to eat you alive if you do not let go. I promise. I love each and every one of you, and I'm so glad that I met um GG Gaming and Cuppy and everybody here. You are all strong people. So we all make mistakes. It is okay, you know? And I love you guys. Thank you. Oh my god. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
I was gonna say if you want to talk about yours, but might want to give you a second. um, so I know you talk about it sometimes on stream, Queen, but you said that you know you go to
I've
therapy.
talked about it once.
No, I meant the not that.
My
I meant the
stream.
fact that you know you go to therapy and
Oh yes.
does
I
that
like to be very open
right?
that I'm going through therapy.
I mean that's good though. I think everybody needs to know that, especially like with what you dealt with. It's important to you know get help if you. I mean you honestly, especially if you feel like you need that help. I mean I think some of us deal with depression in a different way, so it doesn't affect us as badly. But I mean, with the severity of like what you've dealt with, I mean, you felt that it was right to see a therapist. So, and
Oh, it
that's
took me a very long time to even get the balls to call to even go to therapy because I was worried that I was going to go to therapy and I was going to find out that something deeper is wrong with me. That I was doing it to myself. And I kind of am doing it to myself. And a lot with my therapy, I've learned, and me and my therapist have talked about it, and she's helped me reinsure it. But I've had the fear that I like being this way, and I kind of do. I've I've thought about it. I do
You
because to me,
probably
I
subconsciously give yourself the punishment that
yeah.
you feel you deserve.
Mm-hmm. And
You
to
know,
to me, it's easier for me to stay like this and just don't care anymore because like I was saying before, I've had so many losses that I don't want to put my time and energy into something if I know that I'm just going to mess it up somehow. So why sit there and put myself through that when I could just stay right here? It's easier. But I'm working on that. Me and my therapist are working on that because I've even told her with that realization, I'm like, so do I really like being like this? And she told me that deep down, because I was there with her, I obviously don't. I obviously deep down inside want to change, and I do. I would love to be happy. And I was talking to my therapist about it today that I'm worried all that everyone's gonna judge me and see how exactly crazy and everything that I am. But like my therapist said, not everyone deserves to hear my story. Not everyone's gonna like me, and that's fine. I have to be fine with that. But I lost my train of thought. Just it's a struggle every day with anything that I do. Like I was telling the warden the other day, I got mad over my Christmas tree because it wasn't going right. And I kept having to tell myself that like it's not like anyone's gonna see my tree. It's not, and if they do, it's not like they're gonna care what my tree looks
right.
like because it's not their tree. It's my tree. And I just why can't I do stuff for myself? Just for myself. Because that's really what it is. The Christmas tree is for me. It's not for anybody else.
Right.
So
I think you do
everything's
amazing
a
work,
struggle.
babe.
Thank you. Oh no, not that Christmas tree. I meant like my real
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the other one you were doing for somebody else. I was like, that one was
No, I did
great.
stress out about cupcakes. I was so worried that I wasn't gonna finish it. It was about it.
I can.
you know,
I just kept worrying
oh,
that I
go
wasn't
ahead.
gonna get it done
No, you're
quick
good.
enough.
I was gonna say I can tell you deal with depression because like every step of the way you're like, is it good enough? Does this look good enough? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it looks amazing. Like don't. And so that I can tell
Yeah.
you like deal with it a little bit to where even to the point of that where it's just like you're constantly feeling like it's just like not good enough and you have to
Mhm.
get reassurance, you know. And so
Yeah.
So, Warden, would you like to kind of
I'll
talk?
share. I'll share. So, it's hard because like there's a lot. There's like a big stack of shit on there. So, excuse me, sorry,
No,
Cuppy, but
you're
there's
fine.
just a lot like in my life that's happened. I'm kind of glad some of it happened because it made me a stronger person. And I'm a little mad that it happened. Like when I was younger, I was sexually assaulted. I was abused by my mom, well, one of my mom's boyfriends and stuff, and I didn't tell her about it. I didn't feel comfortable enough to come to her and say, "Hey, mom, your husband or boyfriend at the time was doing this to me," and stuff like that. So I let that build, and this happened when I was 13. So as the time went on, I would go see a therapist, it wouldn't work out. We would go see another therapist, it wouldn't work out. So I would just keep holding it in and trying to find something different to try to push all of that down. And then when I got to 18, I got out on my own. I met my ex-husband, and well, before that I got pregnant and, with my ex-boyfriend and all that stuff. And, I thought we were going to be together and it didn't work out, you know. And I was going to high school with my son, it was really difficult. I was glad that my dad was there to help me take care of him and everything while I was at school. And then when I come home, take care of him, do my homework, etc. But, when I got out on my own, I went to go live with my dad and I would work a couple jobs to support me and my son. And it was so difficult because, like, being a single parent is just awful. Like, it was nice to have a little bit of support here and there from my parent, but it wasn't like a lot. And, you know, I started talking to my ex-husband. He was deployed at the time and he was going to come down. We were going to see each other and everything. And then my dad took him for a month. Well, no. Was it? No. Was it that? No, wasn't that time. Anyway, sorry. Trying to remember which time, but went to go see him for a month and then came back. So after I came back, we decided that we wanted to get married. So I knew this boy from ninth grade and everything. So I thought he was the same person and everything else, but he wasn't. Um, Pretty much we were going to get things set up. And so my step aunt, I gave her custody of my kid so I could take care of stuff and make sure everything was put into place and everything while I was getting things done. So my month was up, and she didn't tell me she put out a order to get full custody of my kid because I gave her guardianship. So 2 weeks after she had told me, the court date was up, I couldn't do anything. There was nothing I could do. I looked into everything. I looked for lawyers. I did everything in my freaking power to get my son back. I was like, this is bullshit. It's like, how? How could you do this to me? I thought we were family. I thought, at that point, I was like, what the hell? Why? You know? And it just, I don't ever get to see him. The only time I see him is if my dad texts me pictures. And it's a lot. And then, after that happened, I got my divorce from my ex, and it was awful. Like, it was a back and forth fighting all the time and just a lot, but, honestly, I'm kind of glad that we got a divorce. It was just awful. He put his hands on me, and oh my god, it's a lot. And I still live with that every single day. I relive all of the stupid shit that's ever happened in my life, all of the, like, all the abuse, all of the fights, everything. It's just a lot. But, I always have to remind myself that it'll be okay eventually. Everything will be fine, everything will mellow out, and eventually I'll get to see my kid. Eventually. You know, my husband and I now, you know, thank God I met him. He's such an amazing person, and I love him so much. But I'm so glad he's like, eventually I want to get your kid. I want to get your son back. I want to have this amazing family. And I'm like, this is amazing. You know, I love you so much. But I still struggle with the what ifs. You know, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I do this and that? It just everything. It's a lot. If that makes sense. I think I'm gonna be done. Sorry for a second. It's just a lot. I don't know how to deal with it half the time. I don't see therapists because they don't work. For me personally, they don't work. But streaming has really helped a lot because it's shown me that, you know, I could be this really great person. I don't have to have the self-doubt or self-worth because, you know, it's great because you know, I've met so many wonderful streamers and great people because they're wonderful, and I love surrounding myself with people that are great and so supportive and amazing, and I feel like people really need that community. You know what I mean?
By the way, I'm just gonna tell you the same thing I told Queen. Stop letting any of the self doubts that happen because of you losing your son and everything. Stop letting it eat you alive. I know it's a hard thing, but you've got to stop letting it eat you alive. It's something that like, and it's literally the same situation as Queen. Is you sent your child off because you wanted to get your life straight, and that's not your fault for her doing that to you. So I just want you to remember that. And
I just wanted to add that I think it's funny that Warden, you started streaming for the same reason why I started streaming. I wanted to start streaming to show myself that I can do something. I can do something right, and I just wanted to give back love and kind of like show people like this is depression. Don't be like this. If you ever need someone to talk to, like I just wanted to give out love and just not ever make people feel the way that I feel. And I struggle with streaming. I my
Me and you
anxiety.
both.
I still can't. You stream a hell of a lot. I was sitting there talking like this camera. I only bring it up because like this camera. I still right now, even though I talked to my therapist about it, I still want to return it. I want to return my camera because I know deep down I want it for like situations like this, or when I finally get it in me to actually stream one day, I'm gonna want my camera. But in the back of my head, my anxiety is, what's the point? You're not going to. You haven't done it in like 2 weeks, and before that, it was a month before you streamed. You're wasting money. So
So another streamer of mine, friend of mine, um, great guy. One thing, and this kind of goes on part one, something that was said um, can kind of carry over from the streamer aspect to people who struggle doing simple tasks, even getting on their stream, or taking a shower, making a sandwich, or, just living. You have to commend yourself no matter how big your gap is. But I did do this. Not all the time that I didn't do it. I did do this. And for Wonder, you have to remember you're a good personality on stream. You make these connections with people. Ladies, you are these people inside, off camera. Y'all don't need the camera to be amazing like you are. And you have to remember that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are going to be okay, and you're going to get through this. 100%. Y'all are strong women. There are people in my personal family who don't even know I signed a DNR. I'm too embarrassed to tell them that. there are people that are probably watching this that are going to know what that is and go, how could she do that? Because there are people that don't understand the situation, but y'all are stronger because y'all shared even more than I could ever share. So keep doing what you're doing. You guys are going to be all right.
Um,
That's my tidbit.
what was I gonna say now? Shoot, I was gonna say something. My husband came in and talked to me. Gosh dang it. Okay, well, I'm just gonna talk about my story because I totally lost my train of thought. But so I just wanted to kind of share my story a little bit. I talked about this poem earlier. I was talking about how what I dealt with last year and stuff. Um, when I was younger, I didn't really like. I guess I really didn't have a lot of depression. I said I had social anxiety growing up just because I was really shy and I got bullied a lot and it was hard for me to make friends. But before that, like with that though, I guess I didn't really have depression. I didn't really have a lot of like, I guess I didn't really have a lot of stuff that I was, um, that bothered me um, or got to me because I grew up with my family, and it's crazy to me to hear about people that have family members that just treat them so crappily because I grew up with a family that just treated me so well, and so it's hard for me. That's why I say like I didn't have depression because um like once I got out of college and stuff, and then we were in the military. I saw my husband get treated like crap by one of his sergeants. um Basically, let me just talk about this for a second. So one of his sergeants, my husband had surgery, from he went to Afghanistan and he came back and he had to have surgery. He had to get a hernia removed, and and they treated him like crap the whole time. They told him not to lift weights. The doctors actually told him not to lift weights until he had his surgery. He told him not to do a lot of physical activity until he had his surgery because like you can actually burst a hernia and you can die. Um, and They told him not to do anything, and I saw him get treated like crap by one of his sergeants, saying, "Oh, well, you could do stuff." They had him lift weights. They had him do stuff that he wasn't supposed to do. Um, and it was mainly just the one sergeant. There was a couple that treated him like crap, but there was this one sergeant. Um, we got married when he was on, I guess I don't know if it was medical leave, but he had a surgery and then we got married because I met him like a year before that. We got married. But We got married when he was on his like medical leave. And with his medical leave, he's allowed to leave his barracks. He's allowed to, he's even allowed to go home if he asked for a request to go home. But they wouldn't let him go home. They told him he had to stay in his barracks all the time. Um, but that's not what his profile or whatever for the surgery said. He could leave. He could do whatever he wanted as long as he wasn't lifting weights or, doing something to affect his surgery. But anyways, we got married, and he was treated like crap by this guy, saying that our marriage would never last. Um, and I had to have him call my husband. I had to have him call the hospital. I had to have him call the insurance company to schedule me an appointment because I didn't know how it worked. I had just gotten introduced into the military. I didn't know how any of it worked. But for me, I saw how crappy people are. Like I said, I grew up with bullies and stuff, but I didn't really see like a lot of stuff like that. So it was very new to me. But whenever I had my husband call about my medical insurance and stuff, this sergeant that he had would come up to him and say, "Oh, why are you calling for her? Is she stupid? Is she dumb? Does she not know how to call people for you or for herself?" And he's like, "She just got in." Um, and then, he would come criticize us about our marriage. And then they wasted all this time with our money. Basically, they wouldn't let us go get an apartment with our own money and were telling us, don't get an apartment, don't get an apartment off base. And so they made us waste all
Wait,
this
who
time.
was telling you that?
His sergeants, they basically at the time, because he felt like he was, they were in charge of a lot of stuff with him.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, he didn't want to like step on anybody's toes because he was still,
I wish.
he was
I
a,
so wish you would have known me back then.
I know.
Me too, because
'Cause
I
I'm
would
an
have been
army
like,
brat.
listen, my dad, 25 years in the military, I'd have been like,
You
Well,
could go.
yeah,
You could go
anywhere you
jump.
want.
You could jump straight of chain of
You can
command and be like this
anywhere
guy.
you want.
Well,
Mhm.
okay,
This guy
so
right here. Because
Mhm.
when I was having issues with my ex-husband, he was in the military, and I kept
Oh, I
calling
know.
his sergeant to get him because what he was doing. I actually had one of his what are they called again? NCOs
Yep.
actually tell me to quit calling. And my mom chewed his ass out to the commander. Like, you get him out of here. You do not tell my daughter not to call the sergeant when he is being like this. That's why you're there. Oh, yeah. I wish you would have known me back then. 'Cause
Well,
I would have told you you could have sat there and got that guy in so much trouble.
so actually,
Mhm.
what I want to talk about that too, but so well, anyways, what I was saying is angry. Um, so what I was saying is but at the time they like because he was still like I think he was a PFC at the time, so he wasn't even like very high rank, and he was always getting like criticized even by his I think it was like it wasn't chief, but it was a little bit higher up, and they were telling him, oh well, you can't do
His first
that.
hurt, probably.
Yeah, it was his first sergeant. But anyways, at the time, um, we stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks and wasted every bit of money that we had. So we had no other choice uh, to move into um, it was off base housing because we had wasted all this money on a hotel because they wouldn't give us any answer about anything because they were still working on our paperwork first of all, and they wouldn't give us any answer about what was going on. And so we wasted about 2 weeks because they just wouldn't, because there was such heavy criticism. And I think this is my husband at the time, I think was dealing with he was dealing with a little bit of depression with that fact of like them controlling him so much and telling him, oh, you can't do this. And I know, so it affected him a lot. And so he just went with what they said. Um, and but anyways, so we ended up getting a house, and But anyways, the guy that treated him like crap so much, like I said, there was others that treated him like crap, but this guy really he made him do push-ups for really stupid reasons. He would just randomly torture him just for no reason. And finally, they got a new first sergeant, and he told him everything that happened, and he got him like off of his like he wasn't allowed to like approach my husband about anything. And then he even got, I think he ended up switching to a different, I don't know what
Unit.
Unit, yes. He was on profile. He wasn't even allowed to do anything. And this guy, the guy that would mess with him so much would make him do stuff he wasn't supposed to do. Because he was still in pain. Because whenever they did the surgery, they actually cut a nerve. And yeah, so he's been in pain ever since then. And we got out of with medical.
Gotta love military hospitals.
Yeah. But we got out with medical discharge. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Anyways, this guy would torture him, and he finally got switched over to a new unit and everything. But that was like my first time really seeing. I think not first time really seeing how crappy like people are. And I think earlier somebody said something about how in the military you deal with a lot of people that have depression. And my husband would come home, and he's like, somebody that I knew in Afghanistan, he killed himself today, and it's a lot. I mean, when you're dealing with that and you're going over there and you have PTSD and everything, and I know it would hurt my husband because he would come home and he would just be upset about it all the time, and then he'd usually be fine the next day, but it would affect him for a day, and so I really saw I saw that. So once we got out of the military, though, we kind of moved around. Every year we would pretty much rent a new place and move to a different city or Um, and then we would just get crappy, renters or whatever. We would get crappy apartments, crappy, situations that we were living in. The place wasn't like a great place. After living there for a while, we ended up finding out about things, and we ended up wanting to move after that. So finally, he had went to college and he got his degree, and we came to Ohio because he got a really nice job here, and we bought a house through the VA, which is one thing that you could say you can get through the VA, which is really nice, and um, um, but we bought a house, and my depression started because we were fine and we were doing great, and then this job that he has, it's a lot better now, but at the time, I was streaming. I had a 3-year-old that I was taking care of every day, and it was hard to balance it. And then my husband would be taken to a different state for a job for 2 weeks at a time, and then come home for 2 days, 2 weeks again, another 2 days home, 2 weeks gone again, and then maybe a week home. And it was really hard. We lost a lot of communication. We lost a lot of it was a lot, and there was kind of some stuff that happened that ended up like giving us a lot of trust issues in our marriage, and we had a lot, like I said, we had a lot of lack of communication, and we didn't talk as much. And I honestly and then also at the time, we were I was streaming, and then I was modding for a streamer, and I didn't have enough time because this was all my own fault of my own. This wasn't the streamer's fault. I would literally focus on the streamer all the time because I thought he needed a streamer or a mod like all the time. And he did a stream one time where it was like 24 hours, and I stayed up the whole time with him, and that was my own fault. But it screwed up with my life where I wasn't focusing on my family, and I kept telling my husband, "Oh, I have to be there. I have to be there." No, that was my own fault. But because of that, and because of my husband being away and all of us dealing with this, I honestly thought, like at the time, there was a big rift in my marriage, and but I ended up dealing with a lot of depression from that, and a lot of anxiety, and my husband was the one that kind of pulled me out of it. He's like, "Look, what is going on? Like, we need, we have to talk about this. We have to figure out what's going on." This was all just last year. So finally, we figured it all out, and we kind of said, "Okay, well, look, we have to communicate." And we ended up getting past it, and kind of me realizing, okay, look, I have to set time for streaming, and I have to set time for my family. I can't focus on one, and I can't extend myself, because I would do streams for 16 hours sometimes, and then my husband would be like, "Well, you're not spending time with me. You're not spending time with us." And then, at the time, my son, we were having a lot of issues with him because I was so focused on streaming. My son would have a lot of issues with potty training, and I wasn't giving him enough attention at all. And like I said before, I would, whenever I was depressed, I would just do nothing. I wouldn't even talk to my husband. I didn't even tell my husband I was depressed, which is what caused a lot of lack of communications, because I didn't tell him what was actually going on with me, and how it was just depressed that he was gone all the time. And it was hard being a mom and having to deal with, just being a parent, cleaning the house, and then he would come home, and I think he finally realized, when he realized that after like several weeks that the house wasn't as clean as it could be, and I had just, like with cleaning, if you don't take care of something, it's going to get worse and worse. And there was times when there would be, like I said earlier, there would be piles of dishes on the counter. there would be trash on the floor. My son's room was never clean, and um, so finally, like, he finally kind of pulled me out of it, and I realized, truly realized that I had to put that as my main focus. I love streaming, and at this to this day I still put it as my main focus. That's why, like, with my streaming schedule, I have to make sure that, I stream for like 3 or 4 hours instead of 9, 10 hours, whatever. Because even 8 or 9 hours, that's a lot, especially when you have a family. Um, and but I manage it a lot better now with that. But like I was saying earlier too, um, anxiety is the big thing for me. I haven't had depression really since then. I still get my days when I have a bit of down days. And most recently, that was kind of like I dealt with that a couple weeks ago, where I was just really upset that we couldn't. And I still thank my stream for this, but they helped me get Christmas presents for my son because we couldn't afford it. And I was really upset about it because I felt like I wasn't. And I know for me, Christmas is about spending time with my family, and that's all that should matter, and it does. But at the time, my son does deserve some stuff every once in a while, and we don't usually get him a lot during, the year. And so when it does come to Christmas, we don't spoil him, but we try to get him a little bit of things just to, give him. And usually we don't even give him toys. We give him like educational stuff because he loves it. But anyways, I was feeling really upset about that a couple weeks ago. But like I said, my main thing is anxiety. Like I was saying earlier, I had a panic attack about a couple months ago. We had gone negative completely in our account, and there was no way to fix it. We had no money anywhere to fix it. And it was like $200 negative because something came out that we weren't expecting, because somebody had charged us twice. And I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to fix it. I was scared about disappointing my husband. I was scared about and so I ended up just sitting there. I wasn't even streaming or anything. I was just sitting there, like, I was literally in a ball, like clenched fist, crying and shaking. And the only thing I could do to get out of it, I had my phone in my hand, and I texted somebody really quick, like a really good friend. I texted somebody really quick, and like, I need help. Like, that's all I said. And he ends up calling me, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I can't breathe on the phone, and he ended up having to talk to me for like 30 minutes, just trying to calm me down and telling me to breathe. And he's like, "Okay, what can you think of solution wise?" And and it's like I said, that's the only one I really had. But it's it's not a fun thing. It's really not, because it makes your chest hurt. It really does. It makes your chest hurt. Um, and I never had dealt with something like that. So it was also really scary for me because I was just sitting there and I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. But I haven't had one since. I've been dealing with that a lot better now too. But anxiety eats at me sometimes when I'm just thinking about, like, kind of what you guys are talking about with your past mistakes. Like, I've made some mistakes, and I have to, like, remember not to let myself think about them, but it comes into my head sometimes, and my anxiety picks up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, like, I got to stop thinking about it because it's just gonna eat at me. And I have anxiety days where little things not necessarily trigger me, but I'll be streaming and I'll see something, and then I'll be like, and a lot with streaming, like you guys are saying, streaming helps a lot. It really does. I've made a lot of friends. But with anxiety, I've told Warden this, I've told a few others this too. Anxiety with streaming, this is why I love having a community. People tell me, that how amazing I am, but like, and what's funny is I could be having days where I'm like, oh man, I'm not doing good enough. Oh my goodness, I only have 2 viewers. I can't look at viewers anymore because if I do, it's just, that's when the anxiety comes in. Um, but I mean, I think everybody deals with that streaming wise, but um, I do have days where I'll be sitting on stream, and actually, funny thing enough, I was telling you guys this earlier, but the same person I called on the phone when I was having my anxiety attack is the same person that messaged me the one day where he thought I was having an anxiety attack on stream. Because most of my anxiety attacks, if anything, is just me like staring off into space for a second and not talking to stream, and I'm not like I'm not attentive at all. Um, and he's like, "Hey, like, are you okay? I can see you're thinking about something." Like, yeah, just something hit me and I have to let it go. Um, and so, um, like I said, most of my I don't deal with it as bad as I used to, but it comes and goes every once in a while where I get like little bits of worry. And like I was saying earlier with like Christmas and stuff, um, a lot of my anxiety comes from finances, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people deal with that, honestly, but a lot of my anxiety comes from finances. If, you know, if something happens where we can't do something, it's just, it eats at me. And, but, anyways, that's my story. Um, so with that said, um, we've been going for 2.5 hours. Wow. Um, so before we end this, I think I'm glad to have heard all of your stories. And I think honestly, this was a really great stream to hear about some of what you guys have dealt with. And I think a lot of people need to hear stuff like this, especially with everything going on right now. Um, and Before we go, though, I want to ask you guys to share any advice you have with dealing with, I guess, with mental health and with depression and anxiety. If you could give like one piece of advice, what would it be?
Actually go get help. If you if you actually think that you need help, you more than likely do. You need help. I wish that when I actually had the thought that I needed therapy, that I would have pulled the trigger back then, because maybe I wouldn't have gotten as worse as I did. So that's my advice. If you feel like you need the help, regardless of what it is, put that scare to the side. You have to just remember that the therapist isn't going to talk to anybody that you don't want to. They're not there to judge you. They're not there to tell you what to do or anything. They're solely there to help you. Or like what my therapist does, she helps me challenge my thoughts and helps me work through it and everything. They are there to help. And you should go get it if you feel like you do. Don't don't wait too long and let it get worse.
You may ask.
Yeah, and in addition to what she said, always reach out to somebody before it's too late, like you said. I won't go into specifics, but you know, um, I had a recent birthday and I just broke down really bad, and I was just crying to my dad, and I'm like, I need help. And he drove 45 minutes to me, and that one saying, I need help, changed everything. So don't hesitate to reach out to people. Just be honest. Um, find your passion, find what's in you, and, you know, have a platform, because that's what saved my life.
I mean, kind of plays off of you guys. You know, ultimately, the therapists and all, and they're not going to be there 24/7. You know, they're there for you when you ask for them. But one of my biggest driving forces, and one I was kind of mentioning before about my mother passing, one of the things that everybody was telling us, especially the pastor who did the funeral, who was oddly enough the same pastor who wed my parents, so kind of a full circle there. he ultimately went to my father and me and my brother to an extent, and he basically said, whatever you do, just keep being you, keep moving forward, keep doing what makes you happy. And it kind of bled into, my motto, for those who know, is keep on running. And ultimately, it's about, yes, the therapist will be there for you, but at the end of the day, they're going to tell you, here's your homework for the day. And whether it's live streaming, whether it's running, whether it's knitting, whatever have you, whatever keeps you in a good mindset and what makes you happy, just do it. You know, and always remember that you have that little safe space to be your own little world, that you can be a force for good.
Warden or Meta, was gonna say anything?
I would just tell everybody, which I've mentioned it a couple times, but congratulate yourself even on the little tasks, even if you're struggling. Oh, didn't do the dishes for 2 weeks, but guess what? Today I did it. Look at this great kitchen. Something silly like that. Oh, after 2 days I changed my t-shirt. And I know that sounds crazy to people who don't deal with depression, or hey, I took a shower after 2 days. I know that seems ew gross or you crazy, but it's an accomplishment for someone who deals with depression in that way and who just can't get a grip. When we do those things, we're like, yeah, I'm cleaner, I feel a little better, and that's when we get that good spike and that good day. So congratulate yourself on the good things. That would be my piece.
As I say, I purposely stay up late sometimes just to make myself feel better by cleaning the house or something, because I'm like, I did it. Okay, I feel way better. I'm good. All right, let me just, and I know that, and you're right, for people that don't deal with it, um, angry. So, but for people that don't deal with it, they don't understand that, even cleaning your house is you know, it's a huge thing. Or yeah, like you said, taking a shower. Only reason I take showers, not only reason I don't think I let myself not take showers, as often as I do, is because I stream and I don't want to look like crap. But that's the only thing that I don't. That's the only reason I probably do take a shower as often as I do, because of my stream. But I mean, I when I'm not streaming, yeah, I feel that I probably have gone 3 days without a shower, and I'm like, probably should take a shower. Yeah. But Warda, do you want to say anything?
I just, you know what, like everybody has said, I'm gonna circle back to some of it. Like, fine, if you need help, please go get it. Like, I remember one time I needed help so bad. I didn't want to talk to anybody, but you know what? I did. I'm so glad. And that night I'm gonna say this and everybody's gonna be like, what the fuck? I was wanting to kill myself so bad. I was done. I was spent. Um, that was the night my ex-husband said he wanted a divorce, and we were done. I was done. I was hospitalized that day, and I was done. But I called my dad. He and my mom, and my mom showed up at the hospital. She said, "I love you so much. I'm so glad you didn't die today. I'm so glad." So please reach out. Even call the suicide hotline. Please just get help, especially if you need it. And I'm so glad that I'm here. I wouldn't have met so many wonderful people, you know. But also find that passion. Find something that you love and do it. Just do it. And like Meta said, celebrate the little things. You know what? I finished an art project that I did 2 months ago. It's done today. Just do it. You know, just like I said, just find that passion, do what you love to do, keep yourself busy, do something, you know? Just celebrate everything, you know what? Because life is too short for you to not to experience something new or do something you love, even if it's gaming the same game. Fuck, I played Dragon Age the whole freaking stream. just do it. Do something that you love. Like straight up.
So kind of, I guess, play off everything else everybody else said. Well, first of all, Warden, I know you kind of said at the beginning before you said it, but like, don't think that because there was a point in time when you thought you didn't want to be here anymore, that we're gonna judge you for that. I would never judge you for that. Um, um, and I'm just glad you're here. Honestly, I am. Um, but my advice obviously plays off a lot of what you guys said, but for my stream, mental health is a huge thing in my stream. And every time somebody comes in, I say, hey, you are free to message me anytime and talk to me about anything going on in your life. Um, anything you are dealing with, you can come to me. I will say that I have a life, so I do have stuff going on. I may not always message back right away, but I will get to it because I generally care about people, and I think that's what's really important is there are people that care and people that will be there for you no matter what. I've talked to Warden about stuff she's going to. I've talked to Queen. I've talked to several others. I talked to Meta yesterday about everything she's been through. Um, I've talked to a lot of people about what they've been through and what they're going through currently. And honestly, that's sometimes all they need. Because sometimes, um, and I guess because I'm a very hopeful person, and because I like encouraging people, and because I just want people to feel like they can be themselves and feel like they can there's no shame in sharing what you're feeling. And so I'm always trying to encourage people, no matter what they tell me, no matter what's going on in their life. Um, I'm pretty sure all of my mods I've talked to at one point in time about something they're going through. Because I check in on my mods every time I possibly can, saying, hey, look, are you dealing with anything? And usually if they're dealing with something really major, I'll be like, look, don't even come to stream. Deal with that. You don't need to be in my stream. I don't need you today. Deal with it. Like, I don't need you right now. You need to take care of that. My stream is not important right now. And so I will say is like, talk to somebody. Talk to your friends. People will understand. People will be there for you. And if you find somebody that's not there for you, just move on and find somebody else that you know are gonna be there for you. Because I know we've all dealt with people that weren't genuinely there for us, and they're not everybody's like that. You'll find people that are genuine and do genuinely care. But like I said, if anybody ever needs somebody to talk to, my DMs are open. I know a lot of my mods are pretty open to talking to people if they need to be talked to. And what you guys were saying, celebrate the little things for sure. Like I said earlier, like if I can get the dishes done, that's a huge thing for me because I just let them pile up sometimes, and when I finally do them, I feel better about it. And then cleaning my son's room. Oh my goodness, I won't even get into that because I can't even stand cleaning my son's room sometimes because he makes a mess, and I'm just like but and then yeah, get help if you really generally need it, because sometimes like I was telling Queen, sometimes even having just a friend isn't enough. Sometimes you really need somebody that's going to tell you exactly what you need, and they're going to genuinely help you. And don't let mistakes boggle you down. Don't let them rule your life. Don't, because that's a lot that goes on with depression and anxiety, is you let those mistakes sit in your head and you constantly let it bring you down, and once you can learn to be okay with your mistakes and be okay with everybody makes mistakes. Once you're okay with realizing that, and once you're okay with feeling that, and I will say one other thing: feel everything. Like, if you're feeling a certain way, just feel it. Just let it out. Cry if you need to. I'm generally like, when I went through something, I usually just like, I don't even bother not crying. I just cry, and then I usually feel a little bit better because it's kind of out of my system a little bit. So feel everything, talk to people and move past your mistakes. That's some of the biggest things you can learn. But before we go to, let me go ahead and reintroduce everybody, and make sure you guys go show them all some love. These are all very genuine people, as you guys can see. They've shared their stories. And I hope that if anybody here is dealing with depression or anxiety or any type of mental health, I hope this has helped in any way. Even if it was just you sitting here and listening to it, and it maybe gave you a better mood. Maybe it gave you some advice for future reference or whatever. I'm glad you guys were here to see it. I'm glad you guys were here to hear it, and I'm so glad that you guys participated. I'm so happy you guys joined, because genuinely learning about you guys has made me just feel a lot, I think, closer to some of you, and knowing that I love hearing other people's stories, and knowing that you guys did get past a lot of what you've dealt with, and that you guys were here to share your stories with people that genuinely probably needed it. So with that said, make sure you guys, can we get a shout out for G Girl Gaming? We need a shout out for Queen Space Cake, Warden, Sidewalk Runner, and then Meta X Lady. Sorry, okay, I'm gonna have to remember this. Hold on. I know your name.
Meta X Lady B.
Okay.
X.
All right. Sorry guys, we literally just met yesterday.
We
so.
did. Yeah. Don't throw shade to her. She's amazing.
But we need shout outs for G Girl, Meta, and Queen, Sidewalk, and Warden. Hold on, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and shout out Meta. Okay, I got it. But make sure you guys show love to all of these people. They're all wonderful people.
A few hours with the Mount Rushmore of badass. You better go follow these people.
Right?
Yeah. Dang right. You dang straight.
Angry, wait, what? Why am I getting shade? I'm confused. I think it was because I didn't know your name, Meta, but I don't.
Whoa. It's okay. It's all right. It happens.
Ruh-roh. Throwing that shade.
Shots
right.
fired.
Boom, boom.
But like I said, guys, go show them all some love. Generally get to know these people in their streams and even offline too. I think everybody in here is in my Discord, so you're free to message them and get to know them better. And I mean, obviously, you guys have gotten to know them better already from my stream, but go meet these people. These people are all amazing. Show them all the love, but we will be doing this probably in a few weeks again, but for a different topic. And like I said, thank these guys for joining us today, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a regular stream. All right, guys.
Love you, Cuppy.
Love you guys.
Bye.
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 All right, have a good night, everybody.
You too. Bye.